Alright guys, Scrappy again. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. The Challengers last chance qualifier for the Americas concluded last night. It was K-Suns FC Draco that get the dub in the end, beating out the Stallions and many of their other rivals over the last few days to secure their spot at the Challengers World Championship. Big drama go down as a result of this last night, but certainly a new bug that seems to have emerged on the new patch update that Scrappy is not very happy about. Potentially Scrap and the LA Thieves want to go back to the old patch where they just won the most recent couple of tournaments. Is this Scrap just trying to play a game with the CDL? Is this a fair analysis with scrims about to get back underway? Very much into your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. First of all, just quickly this from Clay. We are still kind of wondering what, if anything, the Falcons may do. Clay Sturt's the coach over there, probably calls a lot of the shots over there. Pred, Exniz, Arcetes, Priester was definitely one of the teams of all time. Going into the World Cup, of course, they're not going to be at champs. Clay does wonder whether he actually should even be there or not. He is looking to do a bit of a watch party, though, possibly. I think he did also say in the replies to this tweet, you know, you're going to be there or not? And Clay's like, well, you know, right now, I'm not really especially sure. Of course, the team's not going to be there competing, so maybe Clay will go, maybe he won't. But the reality is that preparing for the World Cup has got to be top of their agenda. Whether they do anything about it, whether they make any roster changes, that is a different conversation. But, you know, obviously Clay was confident in the roster when it was formed. I think, you know, sticking with it through the World Cup would be surprising, let's just say. And to be honest, in the next couple of weeks, I'm expecting probably some talk about what these teams may or may not do when it comes to potential changes, or whether the roster lock for EWC really is a proper thing this year and the teams don't really have the choice. But I'd be surprised if nothing happens, let's say, on those teams that fail to make champs going into the Esports World Cup. Time, I suppose, will tell. Of course, there are some top players in challenges that could be signable. Certainly those that didn't end up qualifying for the Challengers World Championship. These were effectively the three teams. Major Maniac's team, Gunless's team, and Asim's team. Who was going to make it? One of the three would. And, you know, the big story of the last few days, of course, was the Stallions, Zuma's team, and K-Sun's team FC Draco, effectively, and what they put together. You know, here's Shotzzy, who was kind of coaching the team on some regards. It was a great story. And honestly, I think the CDL's got to look at this and say, damn, we should be really thankful to these creators that went out of their way to put on a show down there in challenges, because, you know, I think it's been great for the community or the content over the last few weeks and even couple of months around the Stallions, around what's happened in challenges, and I think it's been great for the league overall. But the league can't, you know, look at it and say, damn, look at all the viewership we got for challenges, we're doing a great job, right? Like, that's not on the league. So they've got to think about how they can help kind of promote that future that I think we want to have, where tier 2 actually makes sense for players to play, and therefore we have the proper pipeline. Adam aBeZy was very clear about the reasons why he was putting on this big show for challenges out there in DreamHack Dallas. I mean, it was right there in the center of the massive hall that we had, right behind where the desk was. You know, there was lots going on at the time, and for very good reason, in my opinion. Now, the tournament gets underway. The European one was actually won by this team, Mighty Goat. I mean, look, the big names from Europe had pretty much already qualified for the Challengers World Championship, but congratulations to these guys getting the job done 4-1 in the Grand Finals. But in the Americas, things got pretty competitive, and, well, this is definitely a starting point. So we had Study and Shift commenting on this and just wondering exactly what was going on, because this is a strange glitch, to say the very least. So Glowfrosty goes down, he gets gunned from top window here on the protocol, search and destroy. Major Maniac's team have now eliminated all of their opponents, as you guys can clearly see on the left-hand side. You know, Trakes is gone, although, you know, maybe he never spawned in, so there was some sort of issue here anyway. And Asim, Neum, and Glowfrosty, strange glitch that made it appear that one of their players was still alive and well, but there is literally no one on the map. So the whole in-game team were just running around in circles, realizing that, well, we've won the rounds, but, you know, for some reason the whole other team just simply hasn't decided to die. So yeah, a strange glitch. You're not really going to see anything like this every day, but they walk around for about 30 seconds while the round is unwinnable, before then realizing that, okay, congratulations, they actually did win the round. So all rather confusing, and a glitch that I've not seen so far this year. apart from now with the new patch update that has dropped. Now, this has been a big talking point over the last few days, as we know, because the new patch has arrived. The Jackal is now worse in the new patch. Now, this patch, by the way, is not new. This has been in the game for all of us playing for a very long time. The pros, though, have only just switched over to it. Now, of course, LA Thieves, the winners of the most recent couple of tournaments, they won those tournaments on the old patch, and they have made some changes. The Jackal is worse. They've therefore, the pros decided to change around some of the gentlemen's agreements around what they can use. There's also been substantial changes to the spawns in control, among some other things, and potentially some glitches like this, making the game even worse. So Scrappy's pretty clear in his analysis that please take me back to the old patch. Clearly this new patch is totally broken. There's no way we can ever play on it. We've got to go back to the old one, right? Of course, Thieves would love that, right? Because the most recent patch, they've won a couple of tournaments on. So, you know, I imagine there's part of that to play in why Scrap is saying this, but maybe he makes a fair point. Is the new patch better than the old one? You know, I think maybe it's kind of the same. Maybe there's some more glitches. Is it better or worse? Teams may disagree on that. I think that the rivals to Thieves, maybe even including FaZe, would be pretty happy about having a new patch. I think for teams like OpTic as well, it maybe opens a possibility. You know, the control spawns are changing quite substantially for the new patch update. There are some things that maybe can give some teams some advantages here for, given the fact that there's only a few weeks until champs and there's lots to potentially learn on the new patch over the next couple of weeks. So Thieves understandably won't be so happy about it. Scrappy's going to look for every reason to pressure the CDL to go back to the old one, but even with that glitch occurring, it's probably not going to make all that much difference. But I did want to show a couple of funny clips that were coming out from this whole session last night that the boys did watching all of this unfold, and eventually we did see FC Draco get the win against Endgame in the lower final, make it back to the grand finals, and then the rest from there is history.
Bro, look at this. Look at the game right now. Yo, look at the game right now. Yo, look at the game right now. Look at the game right now.
A little bit, but that is going to be
shooting his body.
Oh, it says lives remaining 1. Everyone's dead.
Is it broken? Oh no!
No one can broke the game again with his update.
The first couple of times that I've
Wait, what the fuck's going on?
Oh, that's bad.
Bro, they're tweaking. Are they down 0-1 now?
Like, any idea what patch we're playing on for like champs and?
Bro, put me on the old patch, please.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good.
Like what?
Yeah, he was turned, bro. He was fucking turned.
I feel the patch. That makes it so much better. Sleeveless jersey.
Legend, bro.
That's a goat right there.
I'm Jackson ass sister.
Hey, Doug, what are you wearing? Khakis?
Oh my fucking god, bro.
I'm telling you, Doug Spencer Martin is as cracked as he is jacked. I saw him at 7-Eleven the other day, and he was buying cases of Brisk Mate and adult diapers.
Tired now. Listen.
Yeah,
What happened is Dylan Attach cried to Tommy Temper. Oh,
Wait, that never happened. No, this is what happened. Look, we all decided as grown men. We said, look, we need to get gunless, man. We need to get gunless. He was sitting out. He didn't want to play with United. You know what I mean? We realized that was the end of our run. He wanted to play in place of Dylan, so I was like, okay. I'm talking to big people, blah, 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 you know me. Me and Claire together, you know what I mean? We're like, I bet, yeah, we're all on board. All of a sudden, Dylan Attached, Crybaby Cheese, and Tommy Temper, and then Gunless hits me up like 2 a.m. 2 a.m. I'm at a bar with like Pac-Man. He's like, yeah, you know what? I want Clay going. I said, what? I was like, yo, I was just telling Clay, like, this is the new team.
Oh, shit.
He talked to Formal, bro. He talked to Formal. Formal told him, bro. Formal told him.
This is what really happened.
Exactly. But then Jim's like, oh, the nub, it was either me or their nub. Like, I was going to get dropped.
I don't know where I got this Tommy Temper shit. I didn't talk to Tommy Temper once, but. No, that's a lie. I remember.
Let's just get it out, man. It is what it is. Let's just get it out.
We were all in the living room in the kitchen, and you deadass call him and ran upstairs talking to him. I literally
oh my god.
We're just lying now.
We're just lying now. But first of all, we should have dropped it. We should have dropped it.
I mean, every time we got close, motherfuckers were dropping historicals 4-2-3s, man. Like what? Every time I'm close to something nice, bro, I can't never get it. My S&D, the best S&D player of all time. I saw this conversation on stream, man. They saying it's Slasher. Game 5, Nub's turn to get a ring. He got 2.
No,
I got 12. He got 2. Hey, Liddy, you're the go-to, Liddy. But
That's crazy, bro.
yo, Liddy used to chirp me every event, bro. Damn, Nub, you suck at S&D. And we lose, Jim. I got E United confetti on my forehead. And before I was holding in all this anger, bro. All this anger. I was about to let loose on Liddy, man. This was my ring. And he goes, man, I was just getting unlucky. What? What are you talking about? Unlucky? I said, oh, yeah, man. Good try, Liddy. Good try, man.
Unlucky is crazy.
Even Mercury's tuning into this one as well on stream. I thought it was just great to see the whole community kind of getting behind this change. And I thought it was interesting because Team Ligers, that's kind of the team that I looked at yesterday and said they look pretty nice on paper. Fame, Gunless, Lux, and Millie, they got the dub in the first series against FC Draco. Draco took them down, so, you know, K-Sun's team, 250-116 on the rewinds. But after that, the Team Ligers, effectively Gunless's team, they bounced back and got the dub. But then dropping down to losers, endgame, that of course was Major Maniac's team. This time it was chalked. They got 3-0s, and Asim and co made it back to the grand finals where they defeated Gunless's roster by 4 matches, or 4 games to 2, 4 maps to 2, whatever. And look, they won all of the respawns. Pretty impressive actually, because Gunless's team, they won the search and destroys, they won the dealership 6-5, they won the rewinds 6-2, but all of the respawn maps were won relatively marginally, but all were won by the team that eventually won the championship. So Gunless tried his best. I know that Gunless tweeted about it as well and said, look, I felt untradeable all day, but we just couldn't put it together. So I think Gunless, like, obviously one of the best players ever. I mean, he literally was at a time the best player in the world for 2-3 years in a row. Infinite Warfare, World War II, even BO4. I think you can argue around about when they won that event in Fort Worth that you know, Gunless was right up there. You know, an unbelievable player in his day, and even in recent years he's still shown some promise when he's occasionally had opportunities back into the league. Just, you know, some politics and, you know, friendship cheese and, you know, various other reasons have probably meant that Gunless hasn't achieved as much in his career as maybe we expected him to when he first came around and was doing bids at the start of Infinite Warfare that season. But yeah, he's not going to be at the Challengers World Championship, which again, it raises some interesting questions. Lurks, Millie, Gunless, Fame, you know, obviously the team that didn't eventually make it to Challengers Champs here, you know, they could be players that Clayster or some of these other teams could have a look at to say, all right, Gunless, you know, maybe you should come play for the Falcons for an event. I don't know. It's something to think about anyway. But whether you think that's a good idea or not is a question. But I think Gunless tried his best, and it wasn't to be. Asim, Hamza, Neum, and Trakes, though, that's your team of 4 under Kaysan's organisation, kind of, that will be going to the Challengers World Championship and get the chance to win it, and also get a very good chance to qualify for the Esports World Cup out there in Riyadh. Fame talks about it and says, thank God this is over. Haven't enjoyed playing COD the last couple of years. So, you know, it could be it for Fame, right? Obviously, he's had a couple of chances. He was on Los Angeles Gorillas and, you know, it was on Rocker as well. And briefly played for Paris, right? Or Legion at last year's World Cup. Wasn't that right? So, anyway, Fame says that for the last couple of years, he's just not been having a good time. MW3, Black Ops 6, and, you know, kind of implies that he's going to call it a day, right? So, you know, if that is it for Fame, you know, he's had obviously an interesting career. I think it was considered to be a pretty, you know, solid player for his teams, pretty emotionally stable as well where he was, but you know, never achieved all that much in the league, and of course gave it a go this year in Challengers again, but it didn't quite work out. So, you know, tweet your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Of course, there was some drama happening as well on this whole topic. The Scrappy piece was probably the big one. And just one final thing to look at, I thought this is pretty cool from Real PD Gaming. Speaking of like last year's game, you guys probably remember that GodRx had one of the worst individual runs of all time, and well, it was surprising that that was happening as far as I was concerned, because I remember this GodRx, right? This was the GodRx who was known to play for kills, to be fair. Like his pro peers at the time would say these numbers are kind of fraudulent because of his play style, but still pretty remarkable that back in, like, on LAN, on Minnesota Rocker back in the day, GodRx was dropping numbers like this, and then a few years later when he made the return, it wasn't quite the same story. But very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.